Hello everyone, welcome to the Digital Marketing Gyan, the podcast where we keep on sharing some of the informative tools, techniques, case studies, and latest updates in the digital marketing domain. I'm your host Prince Kumar, and we have Kevin Snow, CEO of Time on Target and co-host of the Growth Mode podcast with us to have an elaborated discussion on how email marketing can accelerate your sales funnel. With a 20 years career working with brands like Frontier Communication, Nextel, Salesforce, and BNI, his knowledge, skills, and understanding of communication and technology are getting real results for the businesses he works with. Kevin knows how to integrate digital technology with your sales process in an authentic, professional way. Today, he will show you what you have been missing in terms of ensuring an effective system of outreach and trust building. Hi, Kevin. Welcome to our show.
Hi, Prince. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here this morning.
Definitely. Yeah. So you have a wide experience working with whether it might be corporate, and also I have heard that you have served army. So can you brief the audience about your journey till now?
Yeah, so right out of college, I got into sales in the corporate world, working for Fortune 500 companies in both client support and new client acquisition. And I did that for years and years. At one point in my career, I actually joined a networking organization and I became one of their directors. And I was actually started working with other companies and coaching them on referrals and networking, and really started managing part of the region here. And I was really good at it, and I was really great at launching large chapters for them. So other companies or other franchises, other regions started inviting me in and having me come in to train their teams. So I actually needed a company to take payments so that they could pay me. So I didn't start Time on Target originally because I was like, oh, I had this really cool idea. I want to be an entrepreneur and I do all this. It was like, I need a way to process money. So I started Time on Target. And then I started doing other speaking engagements, and that was really my product, was me going out and on stage, doing workshops, speaking at conferences, and talking about networking and sales. And it was really fun. I had a blast. And then I deployed. So left my company kind of just sitting there in limbo, went over and did a year in the Middle East. And I came back and I was like, oh crap. I may have used more colorful language, but you know, that's the general feeling I had. It was like, oh my God, now what do I do? I don't have any speaking gigs lined up. I don't have anything in my pipeline. What do I do? So I really had to figure out if I wanted to just restart the company and start over again, doing exactly the same thing, knowing that I could most likely be deployed again in a few years and I'd have that same issue. Did I want to do something different, or did I just want to go back and work for corporate? And immediately decided the third option was not an option. But what I did is I pivoted my company from speaking as a product, and now I made speaking as a prospecting tool. And my product was actually going into companies, specifically tech firms, startups that were at a growth stage where they were ready to scale and launch a sales team, and actually help them launch the team. I was really pulling on all my experiences in the corporate world on how they onboard and bring on salespeople effectively to help bring that type of information to those small businesses. Normally, what happens in a small business when they decide they want salespeople is they just go hire salespeople. And they're like, all right, you're a sales guy. You were really good at your last company. You should be able to sell for me. And that's not how it works. They were really good at that last company because that company spent 2 months training them and teaching them a process and teaching them the product and getting them all the info so they could go out and sell and understand what they were doing. So that's what I was doing for businesses. I was coming in, helping them figure out, all right, so what's the job description look like? How are you going to pay them? How do we train them? Here's how you hire salespeople, because interviewing salespeople is not like interviewing a tech guy that's going to do coding or support for you. And then how do you train and how do you coach and manage salespeople? So we took them through the entire process and got them up and running over a 6-month period. Over time, I realized that there were parts of that I really loved doing and other parts that I didn't like doing. Like the interviewing part, did not like doing that at all. And a lot of it was because it was such a time sink for me. You know, when we're doing interviews, I was doing interviews and I didn't have time for other clients to come on board and start working with them. So it really was a choke point in my sales process to be able to have to do that. But I really love doing the process and automation piece. So as my company kept growing, we kept niching down and getting rid of parts of the process we didn't like to where we're at right now, where it's really focused on helping companies understand how they sell and more importantly, how their clients make the purchasing decisions, and then integrating technology into that process so that it's seamless and gives a really good experience to both the salespeople and the company that's using the tech, but also for the clients who are on the receiving end of a lot of the automation.
So you are currently into towards the consulting role, or it's also involves the operational role also?
Yes. So we do a lot of each. So we come in and we really will get in the trenches with them. So when we're working on a sales process mapping project for a client, we'll be involved and we'll help them set up meetings with their clients, past clients. We'll help them do the actual interviews. So we can have that firsthand experience with the clients as well as we're mapping everything out. And then from there, once we have that mapped out and we're all happy with it, then we really turn into that integrator where we're now working with the tech and we're doing the campaign design and we take on more of that almost digital marketing agency feel where we're doing a lot of that work for our clients. So it's a lot of consulting up front, but then more agency work on the end.
So can you brief about the time on target? So it's the same, or there are other services also that you provide under this umbrella?
Yeah, so really it's that consulting, that sales process mapping. You know, we really focus on two different things. It's the mapping out the sales process for companies that don't have it. Most small businesses don't have a deep understanding of how they sell their product or how their buyers buy. And then for a lot of our clients, it's really focused on how do we use the automation better. And we do it in sales, but we also use automation for our clients in other areas. So we've done projects where we help clients use automation to manage their hiring processes. So managing all their applicants and understanding where they're at in the process and which their managers aren't necessarily getting stuff done. We've built out construction project management tools in our automation systems. So it's really about helping the businesses figure out where their processes are and how to use automation to free up time so that their owners can do more focused work on scaling that business, not being buried in the trenches doing work on a daily basis.
Since you have been working into this sales automation, can you help the audience understand what it is and what are the different ways through which the automations can be done?
Yeah, so automation is really focused on two different things. So when we use automation, we're usually trying to free up time. And we're really focused on making more time for either a sales team or a business owner or someone in the company so that they're able to focus on scaling and growing the business, not doing day-to-day redundant tasks. So the two areas that we focus on when we look at automation is redundant tasks. So what things are you having to do every day over and over again that are taking up time that we can automate? And then communication. So for like tasks, one of the things that gets automated a lot is data entry. So a big pet peeve for sales reps and business owners is having to enter the same client data in multiple systems. So we can use automation tools and technology to take it once you enter that information into your CRM, or it shows up in your marketing automation system because someone opted in, it gets pushed to all your other systems. So it's automatically mirrored and you save a ton of time doing that. On the communication side, for big automation for us is the follow-up emails. So when I was in corporate sales, we didn't have all the cool automation. So on Fridays, that would usually be the day that I'd go back and say, "All right, I'll hear all my appointments from the week, and here's all my thank you emails for meeting with me." And you have it on on a Word document, so you cut and paste, but then you forget to change names. So I'm sending an email to Prince that is actually has the name of Andrea in it, or I have the wrong company name, and you don't realize it till after you hit send. So a lot of the communication can be automated too, so that when certain things happen or behaviors occur within a contact record, so let's say I finish a initial appointment, I mark that complete, we can send off that thank you email automatically, and it's already formatted, it's personalized for the contact, and now the salesperson doesn't have to worry about that. It's another great way to send just general sales content during the process, because that's the second biggest way that salespeople are wasting time, is trying to find content. So instead of having them searching through their corporate folders and corporate network trying to find what they need to send, we have it already set up for them, so it gets pushed out and they can move on to talking to the next client, prospecting, setting appointments, following up, closing deals, doing what they need to do in face to face with the client.
Definitely, definitely. These are the very informative ideas that you have given to automate the sales. Now, you were mentioning about email, basically the email. So, how important do you think that email marketing is into the sales process?
I think it's really important, but it has to be done effectively. And there's a lot of companies out there that don't use email marketing right in the process. So there's two different places that you can use email marketing effectively in the sales process. One of them is before they're ready to actually talk to the salesperson. They're not ready to have that face-to-face interaction with your company. Email marketing can be a really good tool to keep them engaged with your company, get them the right content at the right time. And it also is a great way, if you have the tools set up, to be able to track how they're engaging and actually understand what point of their decision-making process they're at. If they're clicking on certain types of content, that's what information they're looking for right now, and you can serve that type of information to them. If you send them stuff and they don't ever click on it, that's not what they're looking for, and they're not at that point yet, so you can move them back and send them what they need. So that's really key. Once you get them through that point and they're clicking on pages or links that are buying signals like pricing or checklists on how to make a purchasing decision and all that type of stuff, and you move them into sales, then the email is really key on supporting that salesperson and making sure you're getting the right information to the client as they progress through that face-to-face interaction. So, for example, a thing we do we've worked with a bunch of roofing companies here in the Twin Cities. And what we'll do when they go out and they meet with their client the first time and they get all the measurements and they're going to do the pricing, we send out a email with them saying, "Hey, thanks for meeting with us. Choosing a contractor to work on your house is a big choice, and there's a lot of really sketchy people out there. Here's a checklist and questions you can ask to make sure you are hiring the right person." So we send them that content so that they're able to figure out, hey, here's how we make a decision and feel confident about hiring this guy. Once they do the pricing and they get them, hey, here's how much it's going to cost to do your roof, we'll do another follow-up email that sends them testimonials. So we're going to send them, hey, we know we have your pricing. Here's some more information from some of our other buyers in your neighborhood about how we did. So now we're using that social piece of automation to help people understand, oh, wow, all right, so they do really good work, and I know this person, or they're nearby, and they're happy with them. So it's helping them, feel confident in that purchase. So if it's set up right, it can be a really huge help for that salesperson to get the right information in front of their client. So one, they don't have to send it, and it helps them move faster through that sales cycle.
Definitely, definitely. So you have given a brief idea about how email marketing can help to accelerate the sales funnel. So
Yeah, and it's all really for that. It's all about understanding how your buyer makes purchasing decisions and what information they need at certain points, so that you get that key content to them when they want it. The big issue that will slow down a sales process on the human side is when you push too fast and you're trying to move them through the sales cycle at your speed, as opposed to getting them what they need so they can make that mini decision that they need to do at that stage of the sales process faster. And that's usually what gets people hung up, was where they try and jump ahead and the prospect's like, I'm not ready for this. It's kind of like dating. Sales is really like dating. There's a process to court your future partner and to build that relationship. And if you try and jump ahead in that process, it's not going to end well. And it's going to slow down how you build that relationship with that significant other. Same is true with sales. If I try have a first meeting and I try and hard close you right away, it's kind of like trying to kiss the girl on the first date when she's not ready to kiss you. You're going to get slapped. So you have to understand how they make that purchasing decision and help them make it faster. And that's really what you can do with the email.
So you have guided this in a better way. Now coming to the the same thread that you have opened. So can you help us understand the different communication phases that marketers or the sales team can plan to close their sales? So if you can guide us on the different marketing communications buckets, so I think so that will be helpful.
So yeah, there's different ways that you do it. It really depends on the type of sales that you are doing. So I do B2B, business to business sales. So I'm really focused on helping them understand value and impact to their business and how it's going to help them. And all my communications are really focused towards that and getting them that type of information, so they see what had happened in other companies, how they use our services, what their results were, and what it can mean for them in a more retail setting. So, and I've done a work with a few e-commerce sites. We really focus more on getting them information and keeping it in front of them so that they can make that purchase decision. So e-commerce businesses, it's a much more, hey, someone who came to your site, was looking at stuff and then didn't do anything, and tracking that type of interactions and then sending it to them and understanding, hey, this person comes to our site, is always looking at this stuff. We have a new product that's similar. We're going to tell them about it. So it's a different process. It's much more for the e-commerce, almost materialistic. Hey, here's this cool new thing. You should, impulse buy it right now. Whereas for the B2B, we're really focused on building that value and helping them understand the impact it's going to have for their life.
Definitely.
E-commerce, it's going to be much more frequent communications. If you look at any of the retail sites that you get email from, it's usually like a daily thing. Here's the cool thing we have today. Here's what we know today. And it's because they want you to click through and just be looking at the site. Because even if you don't buy that, you might buy other things. Whereas if we do that for a B2B business, it's going to burn them out. They're going to be like, who are you? Why are you sending emails 3 times a day? It's too much. Completely different information consumption between the two sides of the spectrum.
So what is the ideal number of communication that you would suggest for a B2B business?
So it depends on how long your sales cycle is, on how many that you're going to send. So for my sales process, I rarely go more than 2 meetings with a client, and probably 70% of my client sales are a 1-call close. So my communication cycle is much shorter, and I will usually do 2 or 3 during the actual process. My nurturing is usually 5 or 6. unless they click the schedule a meeting link, and then we stop that and move them into the new one. So nurturing, it can be longer and it can be ongoing. Whereas your sales process, you really need to look at, all right, so how do we meet? How do we interact with them? How long does it take? Is it a 6-month sales cycle? Is it a 2-week sales cycle? And understanding where the key points you need communication in there, so that you're matching it up right. I don't ever do just weekly emails for a sales process. It all has to be tied to something happening. So there has to have been some sort of behavior from the client that they did something. There had to be some action from me that I did something with them. So it's always triggered by some sort of personal interaction to then do the email follow up and the email content.
So while our discussion, you were mentioning about there are some common mistakes that most of the sales team do, and if they do, then they will not be able to achieve their result. So can you just put some light on some of the common mistakes that you have observed that the sales team or the marketing team, while doing this email marketing, they have generally committed this mistake, and because of this, despite putting a good amount of effort, they are not able to achieve the results for which they have put the complete resource into it.
So one of the big mistakes that people make is personalization and not having the emails hyper personalized. So for us, when we are working with a company and automating their sales process, we build certain content fields so that we get specific types of information in the back end when they're updating and doing notes and putting information in about their prospect, so that when we are sending out the email, it pulls in the right information and it's hyper personalized. So it's actually not just using the name and the company. It's talking about, hey, here are the top 3 things that, based on our meeting today, here are the 3 things you wanted to achieve, 1, 2, 3, and it lists them out. So now there's that, wow, all right, it's not just this really automated chain letters feeling type email where it's like, okay, some marketing guy wrote this and it isn't actually my sales guy talking to me. The other big thing is when you're writing the emails, it has to sound like you. So one of my clients swears. He was in the Marine. He literally swears like a sailor, and so we swear in his emails. We drop the F-bomb in his business emails because that's how he talks. And we have people that reply back to automated emails thinking it's really him writing to him, and I'm like, but it has like that big thing at the bottom that says you can unsubscribe. That's the sign that this is not a real email, it's automation. But we, on a weekly basis, we have someone replying to these emails because it sounds like him. So that's really key, because that's going to keep people, all right, so it's actually Prince talking to me, or it's Kevin talking to me. It's not some marketing person. Plus it gives some variation between people in the company. So this is really huge on social media. I do not recommend using any automation tools for like LinkedIn, but there are people that do it. I got a reach out from one person last week. Half an hour later, I got a reach out from another person, same company, exact same wording. Not a change. There wasn't like a punctuation different. There wasn't a misspelling. It was literally the exact same message. I'm like, really? That is so, they took the easy button. That's horrible. So having that customization to the person that the email is coming from is really key. And understanding how they communicate is huge. The other thing that I always do for my clients to help with that interaction during that sales email is when we're in the sales process, we get rid of all the HTML coding. So we don't have the big pretty pictures and backgrounds and all that stuff. It's all now looks like that an email that you would type to me. So plain white background, normal fonts, all that type of stuff, a signature built into it from the person. And that actually drives reading. because it's easier on the eyes, and people think it's that normal email. Whereas your HTML with the big header picture and the menus and all the click throughs, it's a newsletter. And people don't take it with the same level of seriousness that they would a standard email. So that's the other thing that we do to help in the sales process get more engagement, more click throughs.
Definitely, definitely. So these are few common mistakes that you have highlighted that the salesperson should avoid. Now, you have given a lot of advices today for doing the perfect email marketing in order to have a better sales. Any last piece of advices that you would like to give to the budding marketers or sales personals to improve their game of email marketing?
Yeah, the big thing that people who are getting into the email marketing world and starting to use it either as automation or as lead generation is you need to pay really close attention to deliverability. And you need to understand what's happening to your email. Is it ending up in a junk folder, or is it getting actually delivered into the inbox? And following best practices for that, understanding how links interact with the email service providers, how images impact, what words will trigger a spam filter, and all that information. So that's really key, because if you start doing email marketing, you're not paying attention to your deliverability, and you're starting to send and get it bounces and people unsubscribing because you're not sending good content, it's going to impact your ability to be successful. And it's going to take a lot to rebuild the reputation for your domain with the email service provider so that you do land up and you do get seen. Because that's the first big challenge for email, is you have to get seen. If you end up in a junk folder or in Google in the promotions folder, you're not going to get looked at, and you're never going to get the click through. You're not going to get the sales. So deliverability is that number one thing that email marketers need to pay attention to.
Definitely. So, can you advise, like, because this is the common pain while most of the audience go for email marketing, that their mail generally go into spam and into the junk folder. So, any piece of advice that they should incorporate in order to have their mail going to the inbox?
So a couple things that I see in emails that from people that I know they they just don't know is URLs. So naked URLs in an email are bad. So when I say naked URL, I mean where you actually see the address. So that is a standard technique for spammers and phishing emails, to put an actual URL in the email and use that to hide a link to a malicious site that's going to download malware or spam onto your desktop. So ESPs, email service providers, when they see that naked email, they're automatically going to assume you're spam. That's going to increase your spam score. So make sure it's masked. Have actual English words where you then have that hyperlink to the link that you want to go to. Don't have too many links. 2 different links in an email is good. More than that, now it's looking at you're trying to just confuse and spam and doing the phishing thing as well. So pay really good attention to your links. Link shorteners like Bitly and other ones are bad for email. Awesome for social media, horrible for your spam scores. So don't use that to shorten your URL. Use the plain URL, put it behind words that are hyperlinked. That's going to make it a lot better. Don't use the words free, guaranteed, any of those, spammy words that you see in your junk folder. If you look at through all the subjects, those trigger a closer look. And then make sure your list is clean. That's something that a lot of people forget about is reviewing. All right, so who's in my contact list for emails? Who, which ones are still good? Because people change emails all the time. They get new ones. They get rid of old ones. It's not like your phone number where you keep your phone number. And so you need to run it through tools like Never Bounce or another list cleaner that's going to tell you that, nope, that's not a good email anymore. These are bad. And then get them out of your list. If one hard bounces and you look at it and it's not just a spelling error, like they did CIM instead of .com, get rid of it, delete it. It's not worth it. And sending to them, even though they don't get delivered, looks like you bought a list, and it gives the ESP some signals that this
Yeah.
might be spam.
What is the best email marketing tools that you would recommend? Because you have worked with a good amount of email marketing tools.
So my favorite email marketing automation tool is a tool called Ontraport.
Okay.
Ontraport. They're a company out of Santa Barbara, a small business, but they have a really powerful back end automation engine. So the one thing I really love about them is it works great for sales automation, where you have that real salesperson that's going to be interjecting and engaging with your prospects, because you can assign tasks. So if a new prospect comes in and they're ready to meet with a salesperson, you can assign them the task to have that initial meeting. And then when that task gets completed, now the automation continues. A lot of email marketing tools, especially the introductory ones like MailChimp, Constant Contact, Drip, it's all time-based. There isn't any behavioral automation built in, and there's definitely no behavioral automation for people that aren't the contact doing things. So that's really powerful for me with the clients that I work with, because we can give them things to do, they do it, and then based on that getting done, then we can send out the right content and do the right thing. And it allows them to really control what happens, because when they complete that task, they can say, we can give them custom outcomes that will drive the next step. So it's almost like those books that we read as our kids, the make your own story, where you get to the end of the page. Hey, does Bill swing over the cliff, or does he go south? And you get to pick what you want to happen. And you can really do that with Ontraport. And that's one of the great things about them. Other ones that are really awesome, HubSpot is really great. They're a little bit of a higher end tool. They have some awesome capabilities for how they integrate and what they do with websites and how they do the behavioral tracking. They're awesome. For CRMs, which are really great for some of the sales automation, because they have that basic email capability, and it ties right in then with that pipeline tracking. I use a lot of Zoho. Another company that is really great, Pipedrive, and then a tool called Nutshell. And they all look at the sales process a little bit differently, which is cool. So it's easier to find something that really matches how you sell and how your sales process works.
Definitely. Thank you. Thank you for sharing these all tools. I think so this will be beneficial for our audience who want to start this automation process into email marketing.
Awesome. Yeah, thank you for having me today. It was a blast being on here.
Yeah. So with this, we have come to the end of today's episode. Thank you, Kevin, for taking your time and sharing with us these insightful tips. These will be definitely helpful for the sales team and the business owners to understand email marketing better and improve their strategies. We look forward to have you again on our show and share more valuable tips on improving sales through several digital campaigns.